So we're preparing the live stream, the media right now. So this will be a fun chat, everybody out there. Sometimes YouTube likes to start recording now, so.
Well, yeah, we'll see what happens.
And welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. So today's episode is definitely a total last second kind of thing, but I'm very blessed today because we have a very special guest right now. We have Mason from Cardinal Gaming. Now, he doesn't need any introduction, but
I do.
But we'll give him the introduction anyway. So Mason, for the potentially less than 1.001% of my viewers who might not know who you are, feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Mason from Cardinal Gaming, but you already know that. I'm just here to hang out and see what's up with Pokemon Knowledge and like, what's the deal? What's the deal with CGC? Is it a personal thing? Did you wrong them somehow? What happened?
So, it's funny with CGC. I didn't like start out, like it wasn't my sole purpose in life to just go after CGC all the time, but CGC just kept doing things over and over and over again that I just didn't agree with. So I know for what you do, you don't grade a lot of cards, right? Like
no.
Have you ever graded any cards?
Like actually submitted and got them back? No.
Yeah, not even just
not yet. Like, I have some that I probably want to do, but
a science experiment on your side.
No.
So, like for me, I've graded a lot of cards in this past, always with PSA. I've done some like real little submissions to like other lower card grading companies just when the market was at the very height. And I just knew that there was a couple cards that were total bulk cards. I'm talking like super low grade cards that if I could have them slabbed by literally anyone, there was a very small window of the market where you could just sell anything at a premium. I was selling like bulk, unlimited base set, uncommons, commons, graded. I had them graded and shipped for $4.50 a piece. I was selling some of these cards for like $29.99, where people don't realize that I was taking a 3-cent card and making $20. So, but that was a very short window of time. Then CGC coming out in July 2020. I didn't go with CGC right away, and I kind of let them play out a little bit. And then I sent my first submission to CGC, and at the time, it was 30-day turnaround times. So, and I feel like us as the people that grade a little more than other people is we were giving grading card companies too much leeway. Like, okay, you guys could just lie and turnaround times mean nothing. But for a very new company, which CGC was at first, with 30-day advertised turnaround times, I took that to mean exactly what they were advertising. And it ended up being months. So I think that was the first issue I had with them. Now, what are your thoughts just on turnaround times meaning nothing?
Yeah. Do you are you subscribed to Retro Hoop Collectibles?
No, I'm not.
He's the guy that goes through and every week he does like a pop report update, and he figures out through the pop reports and figures like how many cards PSA went through that last week, and he goes and like he breaks it down by like TCGs versus sport, football, baseball. He breaks it down, and he always has like a running total of like how many they've gone through. And apparently he was saying that group submissions, people that middleman, those don't even count towards that total or that count that they have, apparently, which I don't know how that can be, but okay. So yeah, the turnaround times, he basically found them to mean nothing because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when you sent your cards in or if you went through a middleman or whatever. It's not accurate anyways. So that's just like what he's found out. So yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously turnaround times is a mess.
Yeah.
There's no way to, you can't police when people send their stuff in.
Yeah. So like
if they get 50,000 cards in one day, I mean, what are you gonna do?
So, and I understand what you're saying there is like, okay, the flood of returns came back, but my problem was CGC was getting these returns back and they weren't actively updating those turnaround times, meaning they just
Sure.
stayed at
Yeah.
30 days.
Yeah,
And
that shouldn't happen, obviously.
yeah, so they should have either like done, I say they could done one of two things. They could have, hopefully, as a big company that CGC is, because I give CGC a lot of respect for being a large grading company that's very established in the grading market.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
they should have instantly been like, we're getting 10,000 cards a day. We could, logistically grade 5,000, like simple numbers. So we need to increase our numbers X amount every day. And they weren't like increasing turnaround times. And then if that got to a point where it was like just exploded so much, they could have literally just got rid of, suggested turnaround times and like gave a blanket statement saying, due to unprecedented demand, we're not sure what the turnaround times are right now, and just left it as a very blanket thing, and then people could, do their own. But they didn't do that. So that was where my first arguments with CGC came. And then
so you'd rather them not tell you rather than give you a blatant lie, basically, is what you're saying.
yes, I'd rather them not tell me, because how far off they were, from 30 business days to 6 months was a drastic amount of time,
Oh yeah, I mean,
so
they should obviously have somebody on top of that, like gauging better. But yeah.
Yeah, and I just felt that they could have did that better. And then I guess
I feel like
like,
we're being kind of soft on them right now. Is this ramping up, or are we going to get there?
we are definitely ramping up.
Okay.
I feel like I have to build the timeline,
Sure.
because
yeah, I'm here for it.
I think a lot of like my frustration, a lot of other people's, is we had a lot of expectations for CGC, and me personally on my channel, I was kind of building them up without ever getting a return back from them, which was the first mistake I did. But I was like, thank God, because right now people hear how I'm harsh on CGC, but if they knew me years ago, they would have known how harsh I was on PSA. And like I was harsh on PSA for the same reasons, like turnaround times, and then PSA very inconsistent at their higher grades too, where I would have some cards that were actually, and this was like the opposite, where I would have some cards that I'm like, oh, this should have graded lower, and it would grade higher. And like people don't want to hear that. But my problem with CGC is they were grading their cards so much stricter than PSA. And I just like was watching that happen. I'm like, no, CGC, you have so much going for you. You can really be a huge competition to PSA. And you can not just take away the market share that PSA is pretty much giving away, because by PSA closing the door, they opened up all this for all these mom and pop gradings, and not to call CGC mom and pop, but they opened up that floodgates. And CGC, I'm like, don't like try to be so different that you will no longer be able to compete in the long term. And I'm afraid that's what CG's doing, is by being so harsh on their grading, is that in the long term, they're never going to be able to like compete. And, from the return. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, do you think that has to do with them just grading, other things other than cards? Maybe that they just have a higher standard than
No,
most, or no, you don't think so? Okay.
I think that's maybe part of it, because their grading scales was based off of like 0.1 grades, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So card grading is 0.5. So, and we all hate 8.5s, and 8.5 has became a meme, right? So 8.59, 9.510, and CGC is 9.1 to 9.9, and then to get a pristine 10 is almost impossible for their comic grading. So I understand that. But when it comes to grading card companies, in my opinion, you should base all your standards off of the gold standard, which is PSA. And I think a lot of people look at PSA and they look at some of these Gem Mint 10s that have a little whitening issues, or centering that's not perfect, that 75-25. Sometimes you'll see like the 60-40 centering. Now, what people don't realize is that PSA is like very transparent about their grading. You can go on their website and look at each grade 1 through 10, and they give you a definition of like what could be the issues with the card at that grade. And at the PSA gem mint grade, they do have a very small fine print that says very little whitening, which means you can still have like a very small corner nick. Like
That's not very descriptive either.
yeah, but
That's
and then at
a
least
joke.
for their
Yeah.
centering too, they tell you 75-25 or 60-40, you know, like they're transparent about that, where CGC is not. And my last CGC submission, and a lot of people were kind of surprised, I think, that I kept going after the surface grading, because I feel a lot of people recently, and I shouldn't say this for the majority or for everyone, but there's a small subset who, when they grade cards, especially modern YouTubers, they take the card, and all I ever see them do is they instantly turn it around and they look at the back of the card and they go, oh, yep, 4 corners are good, centering is good, that's it, I've pre-graded this card. And for me, I'm like, oh, no, 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 that is not how you pre-grade a card at all. When I look at like this, I just got this in the mail today. This is a Alakazam reverse hollow from what is this, Expedition. So when I look at this reverse hollow, these older e-reader sets, they have a ton of hollow surface area.
Yeah.
This stuff gets scratched up pretty easy. So like this card, I got to be careful with my camera because it gets super like wonky, but like the corners of this card is very nice, perfect centering. But like where I could get docked on this card, where I'm worried about is the surface. Now,
Yeah.
when you talk about surface grades of 8.5, I think of hollows, hollow scratches, print lines, and like very faint hollow like bleed and scratches like that. I never think of the stuff I graded the other day. That was all non-hollow,
Right.
sky
Yeah.
ridge. And a thing too is I tried to talk to people is I had 4 cards that all had different centering grades, but they were from the same sheet. And people would say, no, that's not true. You like for those set cards, they came on one giant sheet and you would have like 3 or 4, but they'd be scattered about. No, the cards I graded were cards from theme decks. They weren't hand packing theme decks. Theme decks get printed on one sheet. Otherwise, the logistics of hand sorting out theme decks would be like mind boggling. That shit gets printed out on one sheet.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I don't know about that, but
so the
if you know,
centering for
you know
those
better than
cards
me.
should be the
But
same. So,
ideally, yes, you would think.
but
I would just like to know, like you said, on a non-hollow card, what takes a card from a 9.5 to a 8.5 on a surface grade? What
for
could it possibly be?
in my opinion,
Like what?
you're getting very close to like binder dig. So like PSA, a binder debt brings you down to like a 6, right?
Yeah.
So that means you go from like, so now an 8.5 would be 2.5 higher than a 6. So you're talking now actual imperfections in the card, where an 8.5, in my opinion, could be close to like you had a very small pebble in your card saver and it pressed down slightly. Something you could actually see,
I mean, yeah. I mean, I would think that you would have to be able to articulate, hey, this, and this is what I'm seeing to make it not a 10.
Yeah.
Like there has to be, right? There's no just like, well, every card is basically an 8.5. So we start there and then we'll bump the grade left or right based on what we see. I mean, I can't imagine they're doing something like that, but maybe, I don't know.
The big problem I had too with CGC's grading, it was all the centering. Centering of 8.5, people don't realize that centering grade of an 8.5, and trust me, those cards, they look like this, they were like well centered. And to go to 8.5, that means you are closer to an OC grade than you are a perfect grade. Does that make sense? Like you are literally closer to that card going OC.
You're talking in regards, like in
to
comparison
an
to PSA.
an 8.5 center grade is closer to an off center grade than it is from a just perfect grade. When you think about it.
Are you comparing that number for PSA or for CGC?
Well, I'm talking for PSA.
Yeah, I just don't think the scales are even comparable.
Yeah, but
to be real honest, I mean, obviously it's not, because, like you said, for a what should be a pack fresh mint
or pretty
card,
damn clear,
yeah,
close, and I don't.
we'd be expecting a 9 at PSA for it to be an average of 8.5. Like, what are we looking at here?
I mean, I'll give you an example. So at the end of my last video, one of the cards that wasn't actually part of the theme decks, but I just used as an example, was a Raichu non-hollow. Because I was like, okay, it's a non-hollow. I got this PSA 10 non-hollow Raichu. Let me compare it to 2 CGC 9s. So the PSA pop report for that Raichu, that's actually a relatively easy card to grade. Between PSA 9 and PSA 10 for that non-hollow Raichu, there's 55 of those cards graded in Gem Mint 10 and 25 of those cards graded in a 9. So for that sort of card, for that high quality, like, near mint kind of card, you literally have a 2 out of 3 chance of getting a 10, assuming you're sending like good condition cards and not just crap, which means the print quality of those cards were very high. When you have 55 10s and 25 9s of that non-hollow, like, that means that card grades relatively easy.
Yeah.
The fact that I had 2 CGC 9s that were of better condition than my PSA 10, and they still graded 9 across the board, and they just gave the flat, subgrade of 9s across the board for both cards, it just comes off to me as lazy or very gatekeeping-ish, where almost they're afraid to give out high grades. And that's where I'm afraid in the future is, if I am right and CGC is not able to compete with like PSA when PSA eventually does open the doors. And right now CGC is definitely ramping up like their staffing, and I'm sure warehouse space and all the logistics and accounting and HR, you name it, they're ramping across the board.
Yeah.
When the demand drops so drastically that people don't want to grade with CGC, they might have internal conversations, which this is tinfoil hat stuff, where they're like, we need to start giving out 10s more, or we need to change the way we grade cards, which, if that does happen, which is tinfoil hat and speculation, but that is the biggest slap in the face to every single person who graded cards prior to them changing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we hear about PSA being more harsh, and it's just like, doesn't set a good precedent when across your history of grading that you just all of a sudden arbitrarily decided to be, we're going to be more harsh or less harsh, I guess in this case, maybe. Yeah. It's just the numbers don't mean anything at that point. They're arbitrary. Like,
yeah,
it's like CGC starts at, like I said, it starts at an 8.5, and then they have to see something really, really good to push it over to make it better, instead of starting at a 10 and then, dinging it down based on what they see. It's just which is a weird concept.
Yeah.
To be saying that things come out of the factory an 8.5.
But you have now handled enough cards, right, that you have at least seen the quality of CGC cards. So what do you think about just the quality of
I've
the
touched,
cards?
I've touched a couple cards. Yeah. I've had my hands on a couple cards before. Yeah.
So in your experience, or for your understanding, do you think they are a fair grade, or do you think they are a harsh grader compared to other PSA slabs that you've held in the past?
I would love to see the population report to see where they're at on par with PSA. I think that'd be the telltale sign of like if they are truly more harsh. Maybe we don't know. Maybe we just have a greater spectrum of, and PSA has been grading longer, that the stuff that people are sending in that are getting the 8.5s are just old enough to where they do have some minor damage to them, and when they were submitted to PSA, potentially they weren't. I don't know. I really don't know.
I would just say that thought process makes sense, but like, I'll give you an example. Your favorite card, right? Like the bird trio from Hidden Fates.
Yeah, I do love.
Think about how many of those cards probably got graded at CGC at 9s or 9.5s versus 10s, versus how easy that card is to grade at PSA in a 10.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I agree.
And I think cards like that, where, modern promos that will have a lot, like cards that just real quickly come to my brain when you think of modern promos are like the super modern, like EVV Max from Shine and Fates, or the Charizard V from Champion's Path,
This
or
one?
the Birds trio. Like, yeah, exactly.
I still have
Yeah,
this card here for
those are
weeks
the
now.
cards. See, you had it. You knew we were going to do this live.
Uh-huh.
Like, those are the cards that come to my mind, which are going to have just massive population reports of super modern cards. But
Yeah.
when you look at it, I bet you that EVV Max, the CGC pristine 10 population of that card compared to, say, a PSA 10 population of that card, when all said and done, when the very last card gets graded 50 years from now, the PSA pop report for that card is going to be massively, massively different in
Yeah.
relative to nines versus tens.
You know what I would give this card?
A CGC 8.5.
Right. Perfect. Yeah, man. It's what the problem is? You're paying for subgrades.
For yes.
If you didn't have subgrades, you didn't have to worry about this. You just say,
Totally.
it's a 9. All right, cool.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe it's
my,
that.
my problem was all my submissions to CGC had all been submitted before I got my first return back.
Yeah.
And that's like the hardest thing to explain to people is I went so hard at CGC because people need to realize that a lot of the cards that I had graded, and I have other cards that I sent away for grading that I do not show on this channel because, like, I'm never going to sell those Skyridge cards. And surprise to everybody out there is I have never sold one single Skyridge card in my entire life. I have never sold one.
What?
Not in raw, not in bulk, not graded. I have never sold one, and I have no plans in any time in the future to sell a single Skyridge card. So people out there can take that for what it's worth. But all the other cards I have graded, I grade those cards to flip and to make money quickly, because for me, a lot of the cards that I was sitting on, even cards that I thought some people maybe would think were rare, but I have a very different thought process for a lot of people of what I think is rare versus other people think are rare. So I wanted to take advantage of this market as fast as I possibly could. And, for me to grade a base set unlimited card at 8, 8.5, or 9, for me personally in the future, I think that those base set unlimited cards are going to be looked at as bulk slabs. And that's talking PSA 9s, because that's how many of those cards are out there. When you think about base set and you combine unlimited, you combine shadowless, you combine first edition, there are 390,000 of those cards ever graded. That is a freaking lot,
Yeah.
Like and then versus like a Skyridge, which, when this video is all said and done, it will get like 1,000 views. Every single one of those views would not be able to go out and complete a master set of Skyridge. They wouldn't be able to do it, literally, because at a master graded set, because there's literally 30 or 40 cards graded for some of these. Now, base set of those 1,000 people, if we wanted, we could technically complete 380 graded sets each. Like, you go from a set where all 1,000 of us could not all complete one versus a base set where we can now all complete 380 graded sets. Like, it's a huge difference,
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say sets, but 380 cards each.
I was reading the chat, and the hyper rare says, I feel like if you get a CGC 10, you should crack it and send it to Beckett and get a black label.
Well, somebody did
considering
that.
I was like, well, I mean, yeah, there's that makes sense.
And good. And that's the thing too, is like yes. And this is things people don't realize is, and this is another reason I was frustrated with CGC, is CGC hides their highest grade behind a paywall. And people will say to me, they'll say, no, you can get a pristine 10 from CGC without subgrades. And that is true. You can get a pristine. but CGC has two 10 grades. They have the pristine 10, and then they have the perfect 10. The perfect 10 is 4 10s across the board. So surface, corners, edges, centering. All 10s give you a CGC perfect 10, which is the equivalent of a Beckett Black Label. The CGC pristine 10 would be like 1 9.5 and 3 10s. That would be equivalent of a pristine gold label from Beckett. And like, people don't realize that they do that. But in order to get that perfect 10 through 3 CGC, you have to pay for subgrades. And if you don't pay for subgrades, the highest grade you could get is pristine. Now for Beckett, if they take your card and they deem it worthy enough to be a black label, they give you those subgrades for free, even if you didn't pay for it.
Mhm.
Think about that.
That's
Meaning
interesting.
Beckett's
Yeah.
highest possible grade, the black label, is not hidden behind a paywall. Even if you don't pay for subgrades, they just give them to you for free at that point, because that means that card is at such high condition.
Do they upcharge you?
I don't grade with Beckett. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that it's not really for free if they're gonna upcharge you for it.
And
But
this
yeah.
is a good question. Why did I never grade with Beckett? Because for me, Beckett was never even an option, because while Beckett would have been an option to grade, PSA was still open at all
Sure.
those lower tiers.
Yeah.
And then Beckett's backlog just exploded. So even when PSA's prices got out of reach and didn't make sense to grade anymore, Beckett's turnaround times didn't even make sense for me to send them there. So Beckett, for me personally, was never an option. And yeah, in the back of my head, like some of my 10s where I like, do I want to like do the huge gamble and cross grade these over to Beckett? But then for me, I'm like, no, I would have to send the card in the slab, and it's just like, it's not worth it, and I don't want to spend the money and do all this stuff. So it was never even worth it for me to try the cross grade and get like a pristine 10 for some of these cards. And people that need to realize too, when you talk about PSA 10s, a lot of them have issues. They will not all cross grade to Beckett pristines. In fact, almost none of them will. But Beckett was never like this huge option for grading where CGC was or is right now today. And I think what I got upset about with CGC too is how the community as a whole just piled in and came to CGC's like beck and call and like argued on their behalf every single chance they got. Did you ever like notice that in the community?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely did. I mean, PSA has such a stranglehold on Pokemon. And who knows why that happened. Magic goes with Beckett for some reason. All these TCGs always have like their preferred grading service, and it's always interesting to see that spread across the board like this. But yeah, I mean, like CGC being new, and I think people that knew that they were experienced in grading, just not grading cards. I think they felt like they needed to be at least given a chance before some other random pop-up grader got into it.
Yeah.
So I think that's just part of it, is that people are like, no, I mean, at least they have some sort of pedigree to do this instead of a random dude.
Yeah. And I think CGC's like problem too is they were building up and preparing to become a card grader just right before this perfect storm of events happened. They went live with their card grading service in July of 2020. Like, talk about just like falling into it in a way. I don't care how much like planning you did to be prepared for July of 2020. No matter what you did to be ready for July of 2020 is very different than what happened to you in November, December 2020.
Yeah. I mean, obviously nobody could predict
and
the insanity.
You could have closed the doors. And it was funny because if you could go back on some of my older videos, and like one of the more underrated videos I did what was the best investment of January 2021. And it wasn't a single card. It wasn't a single product. All I told people to do was get your cards sent away to grading. Because I told people two things were going to happen. I said, grading prices to grade your cards are going to absolutely explode. And number two, I told people all these grading card companies are going to shut down. That was January of 2021. So at the time, CGC was $7 a card to grade, and PSA was $10 a card to grade. That was what I told people was the best investment they could do for 2021. You want to talk about like the very rare videos I make that age extremely well? That was one of them. Because the writing was on the wall for all this stuff. Yes.
Yeah,
Swami
yeah.
said PSA fell into Pokemon because of the early days Pokemon collectors asked them to grade Pokemon, and he's right. And some of those people,
Yeah.
and he likes to talk about it all the time and brag about it. It's like Gary King Pokemon, that group of people, they were the ones that really asked PSA to start grading in like 2003 timeline.
Was PSA the first ones to grade
Yeah,
Pokemon?
they were.
Okay.
And you can go back on and
In retrospect, I'm like the worst person to have on the stream right now because
you can
I
go
don't know
back.
anything about
there's
grading.
a funny
But
video. You gotta like type in what is it, the Home Shopping Network? What is the like the 3-letter H
H home, I think you got it. Home. Yeah.
Home Shopping Network? You
Yeah.
gotta go back and you can Google search Pokemon Home Shopping Network, and there's like I want to say it was Gary or some other people. They graded the Neo Genesis premium files, those 9 cards, graded them all 10s, and we're selling them for like $1,200 for the lot, all PSA 10s on Home Shopping Network. And they literally own the entire population. It's one of the funniest videos ever. And it's like one of the videos, it gets thrown up on E4 all the time randomly, but it's like one of those like very like I don't know how to put it, very nostalgic like times in the Pokemon hobby where those cards were worthless. And I would even say a graded set of those cards even today fetches $400, let alone 1,000 plus. So.
Yeah.
So, but to answer your question, going back, yeah, there was people like that were grading those cards.
Yeah. I was reading what Jake was saying in the chat.
So
I just want to make sure that if they find and grade a card an 8.5, that they are able to articulate what it is wrong with that card to give it that grade. And it's not just like, well, it's a 10-year-old, 15-year-old card. It's got to be an 8.5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just hope that's not the case.
I think the problem, and I think eventually the hobby will eventually get to, there's some people out there who have like really large channels and could just afford to do like science experiments like me. I'm not going to go crack a bunch of slabs that are already graded by CGC and just have CGC regrade their own cards. Because, if you could take 10 CGC 8.5s, all with subgrades, and crack them and just resubmit them to CGC and have them regrade those cards and then compare their new grades with the old grades. Because again, you have subgrades. That would be a very expensive science experiment, So if you had a big channel that could easily like make the ad revenue and stuff to pay for that, like go ahead. But I'm not going to do that out of just spite, because what is that going to get me? That's going to get me like a ton of grading fees. That's going to mean absolutely nothing. And what am I going to get to say that everybody out there told you so for the 1,000 people that watch the video? It's like, look, told you so. And they're like, you're an idiot.
Yeah. I think, what's the guy's name? I think his name's Charizard Chaser, his channel. He did that with the black label and got the black label from cracking that PSA 10 or whatever.
CGC 10.
Or CGC 10. Yeah.
I did see that video.
So maybe he got a little bit of that cost back with that. Yeah. But yeah. I mean, it's just so hard to know. Like I think grading is a lot more arbitrary and obtuse than probably most people. So I'm kind of a cynic in that way, but
I agree with you. But my only thing with that is for Pokemon, I look at, so I look at Pokemon like across the board on all ends of the spectrum. I look at Pokemon as a long-term investment, as a short-term investment, as a mid-term investment, as a flippable asset, as a non-flippable asset. Like I look at it across the board as all these different things. Like people either look at Pokemon as being investable or not being investable, and they just lump it all up. Every card in every set, in every timeline, in every period, whether it's, you know, original WotC, e-readers, Diamond and Pearl, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Black and White, Platinum Series, it doesn't matter. Those cards are all in different investable categories for me. And I look at some cards as very good long-term plays. And for me, like the long-term play means you pick up a card raw like this reverse hollow Alexander from Expedition. For me, to pick up this card raw in near mint, I can wait on this card for a year to get it back for grading because this card hits certain things for me. One, it has the collectability aspect for me as a collector, and it has the investability aspect of, for me, the grade this card as an investor. So when I look at grading, I look at like the investability of cards, but I also look at the short-term flippability of cards because I'm constantly watching the market, Mason. So if I see a tons of indicators in the market that are, you know, great entry points for me or places where I can make a lot of money, I'm going to take advantage of that. And right now in 2020 and 2021 and early 2022, people for whatever reason are buying anything graded. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think the market is moving to the point where they're getting smarter. They're not doing that anymore. But when I saw that, and I saw the short-term flippability, investability of dumping cards into the market, I look at it as grading as both long-term and short-term. I hope that kind of makes sense.
No, yeah.
Because
Yeah,
for you,
anything in a slab, people are going to be happy with, and it'll have prestige to it. Let me ask you. Let me throw this at you.
So just real quick, for you
Sure,
as a
okay.
store owner, your thought process is different because everything you hold is inventory. You don't make money holding product or
No,
sitting on stuff. You
especially
make
right
your
now.
money
No.
by turning and burning.
Yeah.
But for me, as a collector first and an investor second, but I need to have that investability to make the first part continue to grow. Like in order for the collection to grow, the investability has to also grow.
Yeah.
So for me, I have a little bit different mindset where I could be more spread out and I don't have to just be the turn and burn. So I look at as graded cards and top high tier graded as being long-term investments because I believe that eventually when all this crap being graded shakes itself out of the market, the cards that will be most sought after from both the high-end collector, the new collector that just came in that eventually will mature in the future, they're going to make their way eventually, given enough time, to the high end of this hobby. And whether people want to admit it or not, Mason, the high end of this hobby for collectors and investors really is that high grade, perfect gem mint PSA 10 card. So,
yeah. Okay, let me throw this at you, and
sure.
let me see your thoughts on this. If PSA, the alternate reality,
Yep,
had subgrades as well as CGC, do you think it'd be as varied as it is price-wise, or do you think it'd be a lot more closer on par with each other with CGC and PSA?
I
think it'd
think
matter?
you would see a like the PSA 10 grade itself, you would see huge price disparities between that PSA 10 grade because then people would really start to be like, holy cow, this is a PSA perfect 10 or this is a PSA pristine 10, you know, 4 10s versus, I think on the very high end, it would start getting like the nitty gritty of it would get super convoluted on a lot of these cards.
Yeah.
On the low end, I don't think people would care as much, but I think if they did do subgrades, it's potential that PSA might have been a harsher grader too, or a more consistent grader. But then when I look at what CGC does, I think CGC's subgrades actually makes them less consistent. And the reason why I say that is when I look at some of my cards with 4 subgrades and they're 8.5s, they always manage to get to that number, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, having any sort of grade, and if you combine or the average or whatever you want to do, if you have a 10, but it has a 9.5 something, like, oh well, it's not a 10, it's got a 9.5. There's something wrong with it. It's got to be something wrong. It's not a 10.
yeah.
So I mean, it inherently is kind of bad for your grading to have subgrades, just because it just looks, when there's variation as opposed to just like a whole number that is for the entire card, I think it hurts perception of it a little bit.
So, and again, one of the reasons I was like tough on CGC in the past was because on the CGC website, they have like a little chat board option you could go to. And somebody had asked the questions to one of the admins, the moderators, and there was, why does CGC, because if you add subgrades, it takes like 5 business days longer than to do it under like the normal non-subgrade tier. So somebody asked a simple question of, why does it take like 5 extra days added on to the turnaround time for you to add subgrades? Because it can't take that long to just type in the grades, right? Like that's what everyone thought. Their answer to that question was, in order for us to put that amount of time and effort to examine each card would not be like possible. And it's like, wait, what? It's like, what do you mean it would take you longer time to examine that card? How can you get the grade in the first place? Because even if a CGC card doesn't have subgrades on it, CGC still had to assign a grade to edges, corners,
Right.
surfaces, and centering. Like in
You would
order to
think that
get
they
that,
would have to
you can't
have all that
just
figured
pull
out
that
anyways.
number out of thin air.
Yeah.
So if that was the case, it's like, wait, what does that mean? You're looking at the subgrade cards different. So that means
Or
that
being more harsh on them because you're looking at it longer. Yeah.
yeah,
Makes
or
sense.
you're literally now like dividing your company into 2 different sort of grading companies. One that has arbitrary grades that aren't backed by like actual thought process of those subgrades versus another part of your grading company which is backed by those. It's like how that guy was able to be an administrator and put that comment and have it left on that chat board for months and years, and I had to make multiple videos just destroying that guy. Like,
Yeah, that's
maybe
not
we're
good.
giving CGC too much credit, because if I was running that company and somebody wrote that, I would be like, you need to immediately delete this comment because this brings up all of our grades.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it makes you wonder.
It would be like if PSA came out and said, oh, by the way, guys, for all these years, we've been telling you that we've been grading your cards based off of corners, edges, surface, and centering. But by the way, all this time, we've been doing this other 5th category, or sometimes when we decide we don't look at all 4, it'd be like, wait, what, PSA? Like, wait, what? Like, it would sound so foreign, but that's kind of what CGC did in a way.
Yeah. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we look
Yeah.
at edges and surfaces.
Yeah.
On Wednesdays and Fridays, we look at corners and yeah, it'd be crazy. Yeah.
But I don't know. I get nervous too is when, I don't know. I guess, and like, I think I like Squeaks, but he had a CGC grader on his channel, and I got very excited for that because
Yeah, he had Charlie Herlock on it, I think.
I have never seen anyone get tossed so many softball questions in my entire life. And I don't know if it's because he's sponsored by CGC, but he didn't ask them like questions I was excited about. Like,
Yeah.
why is your turnaround times higher than advertised? Why do perfect tens need to be paid for subgrades? Why do you need to spend extra time to give subgrades? Like, I thought those would be the questions asked because those were the questions the community were asking.
Sure.
But instead, he was asking questions like, have you seen a lot of cool cards come through? And the guy was like, yeah, I see like 1st edition Charizards come through, and now I'm like bored of them. And I'm like, oh my God, you're
Cool.
asking graders if they're seeing cool Pokemon cards? Like, That would be like me asking you at your store, hey, did you see any cards come in
Anything
today?
great lately? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I
like
know.
I don't know. It's
Um, I don't know. Why don't you try to get a PS or a CGC or somebody on here and talk to them?
be
Have you ever reached out to anybody?
did you I do, do you think in a million years somebody would ever come onto this channel after I've just
Maybe. I
like,
mean, why not?
no way. First of all, I'm not big enough. Like, you need to be a certain size channel for a lot of that stuff.
Oh,
Nobody's gonna come on, and they're
oh,
probably not be able to answer a
sorry.
lot of the questions like that.
I had a flashback to when Pokegal had a PSA person on her chat. Did you watch that live?
Yeah, was that the one where the guy had like a microphone in his ear, just couldn't answer questions the whole time?
Oh, I don't know what was going on. It was probably the weirdest live I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, he did coins, I guess, but he just like, yeah, I watched the card graders, so I kind of get an idea what they're doing. It was just so bizarre.
And I think
Uh,
one of the things I'm a little worried about is I think people think that grading cards is actually harder than it really is. And the reason why I say that is I think people give these grading card companies like a little bit too much of like put them on the mountaintop, and like they're kings above all men, like they're the best out there.
yeah.
I'm going to let everyone out there listen to this, chat. If CGC in the time period of a year went from being a brand new grading card company in July of 2020 and grading 1 million cards by January of 2022, I promise you with all certainty, and I can't promise a lot of things in my life, but I promise you, not every single one of their graders came in with probably as much experience looking at Pokemon cards as you or I.
Right.
Given enough time, they probably got that expertise, which is now superior to mine or yours or other people out there because they've now seen a lot of cards. But their first day grading, they did not have like this crazy amount of expertise. So, and yeah, I hate like subjective terms like master grader or head grader or
Yeah.
lead grader. It's like, dude, what was your background? Like, where did you come from? It it's not
Yeah.
like every CGC employee has some like profile you can go on and look at every single grader's backstory. And this is
Yeah.
not a new argument in the hobby, too. Mason, you got to remember people, and there's E4 threads that go back years ago where people found out what PSA card grader salaries were. Do you know what they were years ago?
Um,
They were
yeah.
$15 an hour. PSA card graders were getting paid. And people in E4 this is going back years ago. I don't even know if you'd be able to find the thread. But when people found out how much money PSA graders were getting paid, everybody was like, oh my God, we're sending hundreds of dollars worth of cards, because back then it was hundreds of dollars, not tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But we're
Yeah.
sending hundreds of dollars worth of cards to people getting paid $15 an hour. Like,
I
this is
mean,
not good because,
you think
like,
everybody that PSA is hiring right now are expert graders to
no,
look at these cards? I
they're
guarantee not.
filling
They're
jobs as
brand
fast.
new. They could be temp dudes for all we know.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
this is how you do it. Here you go. Follow this rubric. All right, cool.
but I don't want people to now take one line of what I said, that CGC graders or PSA graders are not good at what they do. I don't want people to take that line, but I want everyone to know that there's only so much that can go into grading a card until you become an expert.
Yeah.
Like, you only have to look at so many cards, and keep in mind, when I look at my cards and the cards that I grade, I spend a lot of time looking at them, looking at the nuances. And when I get my grades back and I could spend some time figuring out what got deducted and what didn't, when you look at like Ludkin's pre-grading and stuff, they were very accurate with their pre-grading,
Yeah.
you know? But then where Ludkin stopped being accurate with their pre-grading? When CGC came in. There was just very recently a post on the E4 Discord where somebody had submitted 4 Dark Espeons or sorry, 5 dark Espeons. Lundskins had gave them pre-grades of 2 possible 10s and 3 9s. All 5 of them, guess what grade?
8.5s. 8.5s.
8.5s, all 5 of them.
Wow.
And you could go on EV4 Discord and you can find that photo.
Wow.
So you seen any good questions in the chat there, Mason?
Quad shots saying a lot of good memey stuff. He's being kind of edgy. Love to see it. Yeah, if you guys got questions, like we have a little bit. I think Pokeknowledge is tapped out on CGC. He said his piece.
Yeah, it's the thing too, and so I think Swami said in one of his videos, like he's like, I get it, man. You don't like CGC, like you're beating this horse to death, and it's like I don't want to keep beating this horse to death, Swami. CGC just keeps coming at me, and I have to just keep knocking them back down, you know. And Mason, I think where the biggest problem of this comes from is that I wanted CGC to really succeed. I
mean, I do too. I think the competition is healthy and it's good.
Competition, yes. And you know how competition could be healthy? Like when you have somebody out there that could give PSA a run for their money, like for the long term of, like the graded market, because now you have competition. So PSA would have to keep their prices down to compete with CGC. CGC would have to keep their prices down to PSA. But all these other mom and pop grading companies have really done is just make PSA even more king. And I freaking hate PSA slabs. Hate them. They're cheap. They're frosted. Their labels are too small. Most, you get set like descriptions that are, if you don't even know what set it is sometimes, like CGC slabs, I like their labels. Some people don't like them because they weren't centered or whatever. I liked them. They were crystal clear, good quality. I like Beckett slabs too. I like Beckett's because Beckett slabs are a little shorter. They're still good quality. They don't have that frosted. I liked other card grading slabs over PSA. It's not even like I like the slab. But
I mean, it doesn't matter what you like. It's about what people are paying the most for. That's what matters. And if they want PSA, I mean, that's all right. We're going to send all of our shit to PSA because why would you send it to a business that you're going to make less money?
Yeah.
It's just like.
Yeah. So let me ask you again, it might be a little tough for you because you are in that thought of, I need to turn and burn, and I run a business. I'm not running a collection. I'm running a business. But if you were able to kind of step back and think of yourself as a collector, and if I presented you a PSA 10 and a CGC 9, and I said, listen, Mason, I know for 100% certainty, and which is 100% certainty is an impossible thing to do, but let's just say in a magic world, I could say with 100% certainty, this CGC 9 is of better quality than this 10.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you the option. Do you want the PSA 10 or do you want this CGC 9? Which one would you do as a collector, but also an investor too? So more long-term, not just turn it and burn it.
I mean, to me, it doesn't matter. I'm going to take the 10.
And why is
that card could be dinged all to hell and it still say 10 on the label. I'm going to take the 10.
And why is that? Because
as a collector, you want the top tier. You want the S tier. You want the best.
And if
highest you can. It doesn't matter if it's
to grow your collection in the future, right, Mason? You look at that 10 now very differently than the 9 because the liquidity of that 10 to now grow your collection changes drastically.
Sure. Yeah.
And we've talked about it a million times in the hobby, and you can go on a million different channels and a million different conversations have probably happened throughout the history of this hobby where people always say you should buy the card and not the grade. And I believe that, but you can say that all you want. The numbers do not say that that is true.
No. Yeah. I don't care if I was into collecting slabs. I would be less about what the card is, and I would care more about what the slab says, because that's what I'm collecting.
Yeah.
That just is.
And like, I have a lot of low grade slabs that I'm collecting for personal reasons. Like I've showed to you before. I have low grade Raichus because it's something I'm doing for fun, and those cards will never get sold. So as I buy one off eBay for some super low grade at $10 for a graded base set Raichu,
Yeah.
that goes to my personal collection. That's something I'm doing for fun. But how many people out there are really doing that? And for me, I'm doing that only with one card. Out of the 30,000 English Pokemon cards ever printed, I'm collecting one of them like that. There's not a lot of people out there that are going to want low grade slabs either. Or,
I mean, I don't think so, but there are people that, the lower the price, the more people, there's an entry level to that, where you can step into it and, buy an 8 of a super high premium card. And yeah, it's not the best, but it's what you can afford. And that's something. And there's people out there that are going to pay, buy that. Again, they just want it in the slab. They don't care what it is. So,
and there's always the bias too. Like, I bought that I don't know if you watched the video, but I bought the GMA 10 of the Hypno Hollow from Aquapolis.
Yeah.
And I cracked that card to submit to PSA. And people will see a GMA 10 and say, GMA gives 10s to all cards. That is probably the equivalent of a PSA 8. And like, that's where people's minds instantly go. And I bring up the question to people. If somebody had a true Gem card and they made the conscious decision to send it to GMA and get a 10, opposed to sending it to PSA and getting a 10, because it doesn't change the condition of that card. But because it got graded by GMA, that card instantly lost, it actually lost like 66% of the value of that card.
It may as well be raw.
Yeah. I bought, and I got caught in a bidding action for that. I ended up paying $200 for that card. It was set at the auction was at 123 when I put my final bid in with 1 second, and I put my max bid at like 205, and it fucking hit 201. Like it hit the max of my bid, which I didn't think that was going to happen. But my thought process was hitting that 200 was I put that card at a PSA 9 price, and that Hypno from Aquapolis at a PSA 9 is $200. So that's why I bid that price. Now, what I did do, which is something I normally have, actually something I've never done in the past because it was never an option, is I figured I could make a series around that card where I look at it in my head as I could make a video about getting that card. I can make a video about submitting that card. I can make a video when I crack that slab, and then I'll make a video when I get that card back. And between the AdSense of those 4 videos, I won't get probably to the $100 grading fee, but I'm going to knock off a crazy amount of money. So like, that's how I justified it in my mind. But I never had a channel before in the past where I was like, holy shit, I can make a series about doing that with one card. Because I mean, I guess I could actually kind of do that with every card I buy, but that would get very boring really quick on this channel, if I was just pumping the cards I was buying.
I mean, there's people out there that do that, and show what they buy and then submit them, and whatever they get back, they talk about them. I mean, it's all over, and it's fine.
But like, that was a little bit more of my thought process too when it came to that. Is like, I could justify that $100 grading fee pretty drastically, and now so in my opinion, that card is a 10. I think in worst possible case scenario, I'll get a 9. So I either break even or I make double my money. And in that a PSA 10 Hypno from Aquapolis, I will get $600. I won't sell that card for less. I know how I can sell that card for 600. So that is a double of my money for doing no work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, the amount of work required for me to get that 10 and sell it will be nothing.
Yeah.
And that's just one card added on to a stack of 1 million cards. And I'm sure when you do your buys, you must think about like, I'm going to buy this card for X amount of money, but how much work is required for me to
Absolutely.
get that money?
100%. That is something that I think about. It could be the rarest car in the world, but if there's no market for it, I'm not going to be aggressive on it. I don't want it if I can't
Yeah.
sell it. If I have to sit on it for a year to sell it.
But if you can get, I don't know, like what's like a cheap card that sells very easy in your store? Like Charizard promos probably, right?
Uh, sure. Yeah, that's a good one.
Like a Charizard V from Champions Path. Like at the lowest that those cards ever sold for at bulk. I know Champions Path kind of out of print now, they're not coming up, but at the lowest point of those cards, what can you buy like bulk lots for, would you say? Did they ever reach like $4 or $5 a card?
Those probably, yeah.
So if you can buy that card and say, okay, I'll buy this card and I could sell this card for $10 very easy. Like that's probably a pretty easy no-brainer for you. Just like
Yeah.
turning and burning cards like that. Like I don't really know like what your bread and butter is for turning and burning cards. I guess
It's mostly modern stuff, modern stuff like full arts and stuff like that.
is it like a lot of the full art trainer cards or is it character cards or
Yeah, I mean, typically it's just people want to fill out their collection, so they'll buy the stuff they can't pull or is hard pull. So like the gold trainers, I sell a lot of, full art supporters, those things that people both want to just have and then just to fill out their binder. Yeah. So
so I'm kind of amazed by that because those are the cards that I buy the least. And if,
uh-huh.
in fact, I never buy those cards, to be honest.
Yeah,
So
I believe it.
to hear from you that those are the cards you sell the most, it's either means that I'm doing something right or I'm doing something amazingly wrong. And the reason why I said maybe I'm doing something right is because sometimes you have to do what everyone isn't doing, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. You and I have completely different focuses. It's just a matter of what I'm moving in versus what you're interested in.
Yeah. And
You would not be looking in the same cases that the majority of my buyers are also looking in my cases.
yeah.
You'd be over here off in the the WotC section, and they're
Yeah.
all over here in the modern,
Yeah.
the
And
latest set. Yeah.
so I think I've mentioned on my channels before, but we have like LGSs around where I'm at, but we always call them comic book stores. So it wasn't
Oh
really
yeah.
until
Yeah.
your channel that I start referring to them as LGS, always referring to them as comic book stores. But I have one comic book store that's close to me, and I used to go to them all the time. And the reason I would go to them was because I'd get like my penny savers there for $1.
Sure.
They were legitimate, 100 penny sleeves for $1. I'd give the guy $5 bill. He wouldn't charge me tax, and he'd give me 5 packs. Like that's where
Wow.
yeah, it was great. I did that forever.
Man.
And I would never really buy anything other than, like my card supplies there. Once in a while, I would look at his, vintage cards, but he didn't do a lot of singles. He had like this weird, kind of looks like a jewelry case that like spins, but it wasn't like a lot of
Yeah.
racks. He was a
Yeah.
comic book store. He did a lot of magic. He was mainly comics though. And I stopped going there because all his prices just went like a little bit too high for like my comfort zone.
Sure.
And I just randomly went there like a few weeks back, and I want to look at some of his vintage cards, and he had a shadowless Charizard in it. And the shadowless Charizard looked really nice on the front. Now it had a pretty high price tag attached to it, but I asked him, I said, hey, can I see this card real quick? Can I just look at the back of it? Because you weren't able to look. So he went, unopened the case, handed it to me. I turned it around. It was the most chipped up shadowless Charizard I have ever seen. Had a price tag of $700 on it. And I went and I looked at it. Went, whoa, this card is really eaten up. And the look on his face was like, he was like pissed off at me because I said that. And I handed the card back to him, and I was like, all right, thanks. Like, I appreciate you taking it out. And I just turned around and walked out. And I'm like, shit, I have now gotten to a point where I've gotten so picky about everything I buy that like I inadvertently like pissed him off by talking about the condition of that card,
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I don't get pissed off by it. I mean, I have people that come in and buy from me all the time, and
yeah,
they want, just like you, if they want to go and buy something and they think it's going to get a 9 or a 10 or whatever, yeah, they're going to buy from me, just because they want to see it in person, right? That's a whole allure of going into a
yeah,
shop like that. It's like you get to see it in person. It's not just like a picture of it in a binder somewhere.
yeah. Oh, and I get beat
And
up all the time buying eBay cards when I think it's going to potentially grade a 10 and it comes
exactly.
back like a 9 because it's easy to hide stuff in photos, right?
Yeah.
But
Uh,
like, does that bother you when people like me come in and
no,
I'm not
no,
doing it on purpose. It's just like,
no. Um, and I will even like because I have people again that just buy and they only want either they just want near mint stuff just for the binders or they want to go and send it to grade.
yeah,
And I automatically no, I'll tell them no, you don't want that. That's moderately played. You don't want to
yeah,
look at that. Don't waste your time. I don't. I mean, why would I waste my time showing you something that I know you're not going to buy?
yeah,
You know what I mean? So it's just like I'm you get to learn people and then you're like, oh yeah, no, you don't want to look at that. You're good.
yeah. And I think sometimes I'm like critical about people when I feel they spend too much for modern product.
Sure.
But at the same time, I tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, if you want to go into your Walmart or Target and buy a sleeve blister for $4 and change, or go pay $5 for a pack or whatever, and just open up that one pack, do it. Like,
Right. Yeah.
for $4, if you want to open a pack, like, I feel like some people think I gotten so critical at what I'm trying to warn people about is, if you're going to buy a case or booster boxes and you're going to sit on those as an investment for the long term, do not have your price point be, $200 for a booster box of
Right. Yeah.
vivid voltage. Like, I think people like understand, because maybe I could be a little critical, is I'm not saying you can't still have fun with this stuff. Just don't set yourself up to be an investment. Like, Pokemon cards is not all about investment, Mason. You've talked about this before. There's a lot of people out there that are buying this stuff to open that.
Oh, the vast mass majority
And in
is
order for this hobby to grow in the long term, like, that opening experience, I'm a strong believer, will always be necessary, will always be important. But I'm just afraid, because maybe we talk about the investing a little bit too much on channels like mine, that I just feel that I have to like always warn people, like, it's fine to still enjoy Pokemon and open it and have fun, but just don't get into the investment side if you're just trying to do the fun side of it.
yeah, you can definitely ruin this hobby for yourself.
Or if you are going to do it, it's all about like entry points and prices and stuff. And right now, for the collector and the investor people out there, like, a lot of these price points for us are fantastic.
For both of us.
Yeah.
I'm not
And
complaining either.
when you now, do you look at certain products too? And do you look at it? So I'll give you an example. Like, we could talk about the new set coming out. People like to talk about modern. Uh, what the it's
People
what I
like that,
want.
right? People like to talk about that, right?
What's the new set? I was about
Brilliant stars.
Brilliant Stars.
Sure.
It just came out that it's gonna now have. We already knew about the character art Leon card with the Charizard, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now we got a hyper rare Charizard. We haven't seen one since Burning Shadows. Look at what that Burning Shadows Charizard did. And when we look at sets that in the future usually perform very well, sets that have Charizard perform well. It's just, you can literally go back and, like, we can make this argument and say that that's not true, but I challenge anybody out there to tell me a set that has a Chase Charizard that didn't do good in the long term.
There
And
is definitely correlation. Yes.
there's like correlation. And when you look at like super modern sets, Swami, appreciate the super chat for your PSA subscription fund.
Ah,
Shout out in the chat. I
damn.
appreciate that. But when you look at, so what's like, out of all modern sets, going back to like XY, what set has stocked out the hardest? Like, think about it. It's an XY set. Think about it. Charizard set.
Uh, uh, oh, I got it. Evolutions.
No, no.
Oh,
Like if you look at like a Flash Fire set,
oh yeah, Flashfire, of course.
which just has more Charizards than you could pack into a set, and you look at a booster box, and that was one of those booster boxes that never dropped in price. It
No,
had
yeah,
the
yeah.
best trajectory, like a very organic upward trajectory for a long time. And then 2020 hit, and then that nice smooth trajectory just fucking rocket ship to like $3,000 a booster box or whatever the hell that thing is selling at now. But
Yeah,
when I look at like the Brilliant Stars and I see like a full art character card Charizard, I'm like, that's nice. Hyper rare Charizard compared to like, I'm like, I could see this set doing stuff in the future. And I think it has potential to be the best modern set ever because I'm a huge character art fan.
definitely. I mean, I made that recent video that I did, talked about the potential for Brilliant Stars to, I think in the short term, be very hot out of the gates and sell very well, and potentially like we saw with Evolving Skies, where the booster box, it was pre-order prices were pretty mellow, and then the release was actually pretty mellow as well. But then the supply just dried up very, very quickly, and the prices started creeping up, right? So there's something to watch with Brilliant Stars as well, just because it is so stacked, it is so loaded full of stuff
Yeah.
that it's just there's so much appeal for everybody.
And real quick, Mason, I just want to give a special shout out to Professor Oak. He just gave a super chat too. I appreciate it, Professor Oak. And Mason, believe it or not, Professor Oak was the one that kind of got this chat going. So at the end of Pokenomics,
Yeah.
Professor Oak said, Pokeknowledge, you should go live. And I responded to him, only if you join.
No,
But,
yeah, Professor Oak is great.
So yeah, I just wanted to give him a shout out. But yeah, so I think people look at Evolving Skies, and I think people are talking about evolutions, like you said, like being this, fan favorite card. But character arts, character Charizard,
Yeah,
secret rare Charizard, it's got a lot going for it right now.
yeah, it's pretty stacked.
And I think people kept asking the question, and it was a great question. Every set that would come out, it was like, okay, we had Evolving Skies, we had Celebrations. Where does Pokemon go from here?
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like where they're going, this was a pretty dang good. And this brings up after this set. Now we're going to keep doing this conversation forever, right? We're just going to go, where are we going to go from here? Where are we going to go from here? Where are we going to go from here? And I think Pokemon listened, because when one of the things people ask for is we want more character cards.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
Cosmic Eclipse, is one of my favorite sets. It was because of those character cards.
Mhm.
Now, there's a lot of, I'm bullish on Pokemon in the long term. I don't know. Now,
I still like modern. I still think modern is the best it's ever been. Or Pokemon's creating cards that are appealing and the best looking that they've ever been. There's a lot to like about what's going on. Yeah, you can say what you want about the sets being too large and this filler crap that nobody wants, but the stuff that's meant to be the chases are some of the best looking cards we've ever had. So that's something.
So Mason, obviously you've been around the Pokemon hobby for so long, and you've
Sure.
hosted different events, and you've been selling, and you said it was pretty much like the backbone of your store when you first started. Like one of the major products you did sell other stuff, but like one of the major products was Pokemon. Now,
Yes.
when you first started, I don't know what your like social media footprint was, but now that you're definitely like into this YouTube sphere, and you're definitely like pretty well established now in the Pokemon community and everything like that, do you find yourself enjoying it even more than you were, say, a couple years ago when maybe you didn't have that social footprint?
It's definitely with everything with COVID, it's kind of hard to compare, but yeah, I mean, I'm still super passionate about it. I still enjoy it. I miss the running events aspect of it. That's one of my favorite things to do, even outside of just owning a store, is running and being the tournament organizer for events and running those kind of events. I love it. It's the best. Getting people to come together and like be like competitive in a children's card game, say what you will, but competitive level
Yeah.
competitions
Yeah.
for Pokemon is just so cool. I love it.
Now,
And I love being able to do that.
do you have a lot of people come into your store, a lot of more foot traffic and stuff now that are people are like, yeah, I found out about you from your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I've actually just had a guy, he came in when I first started, probably almost exactly a year ago, and then he came back again today. He had sold a collection to me. He came back today and said, "Oh man, your channel's grown so much, and your store's changed so much." And uh, so it's funny to see somebody that's been following my channel came in initially because of the channel, and then
Yeah.
came back again a year later to talk to me again. It was super cool, just because it puts like a perspective of time on it.
Now,
That I've
do
been
you
doing this
think
for
this is
that
going to
long.
lead into you hosting like much larger tournaments and stuff too, where you're going to get a lot of more like player
Oh,
traffic?
I'd love to. I'd love to do a high level event.
What's
It's kind of convoluted to do that. There's a lot of things you have to do, and it's kind of the guys that do it are kind of grandfathered in. So until they like retire or walk away, they kind of have like first dibs on it, kind of.
yeah.
So it's kind of hard to get your name into the hat to Pokemon to be the one to run that kind of stuff. So we'll see though. You never know. I would like to maybe travel some more and at least TO or judge some events. That'd be cool. Some bigger events.
Yep.
And then maybe one day have a little regional here in Louisville would be pretty cool. I think we could definitely handle it. And there's enough people because Indiana's huge. Nashville's got a good crowd. Worlds was even held there a couple years ago. So there's definitely people in the area that are interested in high competitive play. So I think it'd be right at home here in this area. So that is kind of a personal goal of mine, is
Yeah,
to
that would be
have a
awesome.
high level event here.
Do you ever see yourself going to like a Comic-Con or something like that? Like
Yeah,
a bigger event and having your own booth or your own table or something like that?
absolutely. We just bought a like a cargo van to actually do more events and stuff.
Oh, that would be awesome.
If we ever get back to do our normal things, but yeah, because we don't just do cars, we do video games and everything. So we pack all of our best stuff into the van and take it to a convention and meet people and talk to people and spread the word about the store. So
I think
yeah,
there'd be a
that's
lot
cool.
of I think there's a lot of people out there in the community who would love to just go to an event, just meet you and
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so.
I
Yeah,
don't
I would love to do that more.
he's not in the chat. I don't want to blow up his spot. I don't know if it was like a secret or anything, but old school Pokemon, I don't know. Nick.
Yeah, of course.
He messaged me. He's going down to Orlando, and he asked if I want to do the ride with him because he would be kind of passing where he's. I'm not gonna say where he lives, but he'd be passing me to get to Orlando.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, dude, I would absolutely love to do that, but I'm already going to Leon Hart's Pop Shop at the end of January. I got a newborn at home. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't even ask my wife if I wanted. Like I couldn't even bring it up in like a hypothetical to her. Like, hey, what do you think of this? Because I know he's going down there to sell. I'm sure he has a table, and
Yeah.
like, I would love to do that. Like, it would be so much fun, but I just can't swing it. No matter how much I would like to.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously if time and money was unlimited, we'd all be doing all kinds of cool, crazy stuff
Oh yeah. I
and
mean,
getting
just for
together.
me to go to Leonhardt's Pop Shop in Texas, I leave on a Friday. I get back home on a Sunday. So,
Yeah.
it's like for the Leonhardt Pop Shop, for the ticket, for the flight, for the hotel room, for the Uber, for food. It's like you're talking like $1,000 to fly out on a Friday and come back on a Sunday. But for me, like not everything's about the money too, you know? And like Pokemon's been very nice to me over the last year. So
Yeah, man,
like,
go and enjoy yourself and
yeah.
treat yourself.
But
Like you're like,
but
it's okay to spend money, and
well,
for something like
I
that is such a good experience and like a unique experience. Who knows if he'll ever do anything crazy like this ever again?
yeah,
And even if he does, it's never going to be like the first one.
I feel
So
guilty. I feel guilty doing it though,
why?
because
Don't.
leaving a
That's
newborn at home, leaving my wife, and
look. It's for
but
what you said, 48 hours, 52 hours, whatever, whatever it
yeah,
is.
I
You know,
fly out Sunday morning at like 7 a.m. or something like that.
yeah, I mean, they'll manage without you.
But
And
I don't know.
I think that your wife would probably agree to go and enjoy yourself.
Oh,
So
she was totally on board once I asked her. She was
yeah,
like,
so
"Hey, the
yeah,
total okay," because
yeah, yeah.
she knows how much I like all this. And but I don't know. Did you watch Rusty TCA Gaming's last live stream? He said that he's gonna be there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't know.
I mean, I know
I've
a lot of
already.
people are going to be there. I think, quite a few people.
Do you know the other people that are supposed to be there? Like the actual like sponsor, call them the sponsored content creator people.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's like flying certain people out. I don't know if he's doing that extent. I think they're just people that just genuinely do want to go that are probably going. I'm sure there's tons of celebrity, quote unquote, celebrities that are going
Yeah.
out there. I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I think there's going to be a bunch of people there, and I'm going to use it as a opportunity. My wife bought me a selfie stick for Christmas, literally just for the pop-up shop.
Nice.
So I want to do like content that way and record some videos. And do you like those type of videos on YouTube where people will go to the card shows or just,
Oh my God, that's some of my favorite stuff to watch.
yeah.
The experience and living vicariously through people is very enjoyable to me.
My
Um,
plan is I want to do like a couple while I'm down there because there's a few people reached out to me on my Instagram, which I have for this channel, which it looks like a fake Instagram. I tell people that all the time. I follow nobody. I have no posts. And I
yeah,
have like somehow like 80 people following me. I have no clue how they even found me. But some people did reach out to me on Instagram, told me they were going to be down there. So I'll get to meet some, fans of the channel. Basic Trainer is going to be there. I know you
yeah,
know Basic Trainer. Rock Pokemon's going to be there.
yeah.
So I want to, do like a little recording with Basic and maybe a little recording with Rock, and maybe we'll do like a little mini pack battle. And then I'll be able to record my pack being open and walking around. And I'm literally going to be able to make like a 5-part series out of this one trip.
Yeah, that's the rest of us that aren't recluses like you, like we all have like discords together and like we all have Instagrams where we talk to each other, you know that, right?
Oh,
Like we're not just, you're out
well,
here in your own little bubble and we're all
listen,
just like, yeah, this guy's
I got an
good.
Instagram. I got a Discord,
Oh, you have a Discord? Whoa, now
but
we're
it's
making
a
upgrades. See,
it's a secret. Oh, the channel does not have a Discord. I have a
see,
Discord.
you gotta get a channel. You get an actual Discord.
I'm in your Discord. I'm in all the Discords. It's
You're
so
not in my Discord.
I'm in your Discord.
Really?
Yeah,
Now I gotta find
but
you.
it's not my name.
I
So
gotta find you now.
you would never find me. So a couple months back, I created my Instagram account. I created like a Twitter account. I created an E4 account. I created a Discord account. All brand new
Look
accounts.
at you coming out of your shell.
So they all
So
did.
cute.
They all never existed before. So I like obviously I had like an E4 account. I had a Discord account, but I replaced them with this and I with like a unknown name, and I just built them and just in case the option ever came out where I would change my name to my YouTube channel.
Mm.
But I'm far away from doing that. And they have like it has zero social footprint. I'm not there yet, Mason.
Look, it's okay. You could be a lurker and just hang out. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Chief said lurking.
Oh,
Like
yeah, there you go.
I can never change my actual E4 name or my actual Discord because people would be like, I know who this guy is. Look at this fucking track history of him like
Just make a new one
picking
for
fights
your.
about all these cards for the last.
Just make a new Pokeknowledge account and
Well,
just be that.
that's what I already did. I already
Okay,
have it.
so
Like,
so
no,
yeah,
I
you're
just
good.
haven't
So what are
changed
you worried about? What's the big deal?
it. Yeah. So Radical Pokemon said, seeing the videos of pop-up shots with only creators and not the actual viewers is gonna be hilarious.
Hmm?
I don't know what he means by that. I'm reading the chat.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I'm
Oh, with
curious.
if the viewers instead of the creators going, that is that what
Oh,
he means?
maybe there's gonna be so much content that comes out
Yeah,
of here.
I'd
People,
I'd I'd love to see. I'm sure he'll probably have like a compilation of people's videos that he gathers and puts a video together. I wouldn't be surprised. So
yeah. So he did. I know for a fact Leonhardt at least has watched this channel. Whether or not he continues to watch this channel, I'll never know. But he definitely watches my channel because I made a video and then he made the same video like a week later.
oh, the feather in my cap is Rudy putting comments in my videos. That's like my like makes me blush kind of thing.
Yeah. So who are we can talk a little bit like so who are your YouTube content creators you watch?
Um, like Pokemon wise,
Yeah.
oh God, like a lot of people. Like I am a sponge. I just consume the stuff constantly.
Yeah.
And it's just this is what I don't watch TV. I don't watch, Netflix. This is my my fun time is watching other people's channel. Um obviously Jake stuff I watch every single damn video that he puts out. Um Danny Phantom obviously like is huge. I watch all of his stuff. Um
I like so one critique about Danny Phantoms in your guys' videos, and I understand why you do it. But you
me?
guys always quote TCG prices, TCG player prices.
Yes.
And I don't even look at TCG player prices. Like
Of course you don't,
I
because the stuff that you're interested in, there's only one dude selling it, and it's like 3 times what it is on eBay.
yeah.
So yeah, it makes sense.
So
For
but
me and Danny that are in here in the nitty gritty of modern, try to flip a card for 25 cents. Or we picked out a bulk. Yeah, it's that's what we
yeah.
got to do.
But I never look at TCG. Well, yeah, never.
Yeah, yeah. For modern, it is the pinnacle of like
So
pricing.
what other channels do you watch?
Um,
You
I
said
loved
Rudy.
I well yeah Rudy of course, but I like craved when Z&G was like pumping him out, like his like truth bomb and like his uh just his opinion on stuff. James is like the most enjoyable, like I don't know, just the way he has and explains things very dryly. I just appreciate. So it's just like every single one of his video just like touched a very special part of me that I enjoyed.
Yeah. No,
Um,
Z's a good guy. I've reached out to Z now a couple times. I reached out to him right after his very first auction block he did on eBay.
yeah,
And I was like, dude, can I send you stuff? And just so you can read a letter on your channel, because your auction block is going to explode. I'm
mm,
like, I
yeah,
knew it after the very first one. I like instantly recognized what was gonna happen, but I never ended up sending it. But no, he is due to be on this channel, but he's just so busy with all the stuff he's doing. I think.
yeah. That dude, he's yeah. I love watching Echo Base collectibles. I love his channel and just hearing about like the old competitive Pokemon.
Yeah.
I love watching that and like any little nugget I can get from like how things used to be from a competitive aspect, because that stuff's just not talked about, man. Like that stuff is so
Did you watch
under.
his EX Deoxys binder he had today?
No, it's on the
Yeah,
list
so
probably. I got to look at it. But
yeah, so he had his EX Deoxys binder today, his video, and he went through the entire thing and he talked about the playability of all the cards in EX Deoxys.
dude,
And then just, humble brag was like, oh yeah, and by the way, here's my binder Rayquaza Gold Star. It's like, oh, that's just a $50,000 card sitting in your binder,
look, he bought it back when it was $200, so he's fine. Like,
he pulled it out as super minty, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, and like we didn't even like this Rayquaza Gold Star, and
totally not playable." Yeah,
and all his pockets in his binders. People don't realize there's 4 cards in each slot because like that's how players would build binders. But
yeah.
No, Equity Collectibles is freaking. He's awesome, dude, and I'm very happy I got a chance to actually like talk to him and meet him and being on.
And he's just like the only dude that's talking about that kind of stuff. There's, like I said, it's so underdocumented. Like early Pokemon, like competitive play and like tournament, how that shit went down. Like it's just not out there. Like that's not something on Bulbapedia that you can look up.
His 2003 Worlds. Like, you've heard him talk about 2003 Worlds, where the first place winner got 10 boxes of each set.
Yeah.
Do you know how many boxes of Skyridge he got for 10th place?
Mm-hmm.
He got 10 boxes of Skyridge. Skyridge is selling at like 50 grand a box right now. He got $500,000 worth of cards for 10th place.
Yeah, man. And he was just like, I don't even want this. Like, what?
Yeah. He's like, I got tired of opening up Skyridge. And every time he says that, I'm just like, shut up, Joe.
Yeah. But yeah, I love Joe. He's just his perspective is just totally unique and I love it. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff I latch onto. Somebody that has like a unique perspective.
He's got that personality too. Yeah. All right, Joe, if you're out there, we patted your ego enough.
No. He already knows. He knows I love him. Pokemon Classics, I love watching his stuff. Just a documentary style of stuff. I love watching that stuff.
His editing is just freaking top notch.
Dude, I wish I could afford him to edit my stuff.
Yeah. He's like a teacher or something too. So
he's just
does all that on his free time,
Yeah, obviously Squeaks is the same way. I've followed Squeaks for years now. I watch all of his stuff. Of course, Rattle's like the big star of the week,
Yeah.
So
I reached out to Rattle, I guess, before his channel technically like popped. So before any like the first edition cases.
Yeah.
And Rattle right now in the mail, I shipped it out so it's been over. God, it's been a while. It's been like 10 days. I shipped him out a package of some resealed cards because in one of his videos he had mentioned that he thought resealed packs were very easy to tell if they were resealed. So I sent him one just to show him that he's probably wrong.
I'll be interested to see what he says.
I sent him a sealed check lane blister, a resealed check lane blister.
Yeah.
The blister itself with like the plastic on it, he'll be able to know that that's resealed, but the packet side, he won't be able to tell.
I know somebody else was already talking about it, but the Flex Gods, like, I love watching his stuff because it's
I like them when they first started the channel because they were so. How do I put how they were making content? You could tell they were having fun.
Yeah.
And that they were learning as they were going along.
Yeah. Like
some of
they have like the fundamentals down of like what to look for, and like they have like a baseline knowledge of like, even probably more than a baseline of what what most people do. But yeah, just like has the eye to look for what he both wants and then is also a very good investment. So yeah, he's like, I think they were talking about experts the other night in Pokemon. I was like, is he an expert? No, but he's experienced and he's a veteran and he knows what to look for and he has a wide knowledge base. Yeah. So yeah, I can take his opinion and gain something from it, even though he's not like an expert.
So I liked Flex Gods because I got very lucky. I found his channel very early on because it was the middle of, everybody was at home locked in.
Yeah.
And I got the privilege of watching him grow as a collector. And trust me, there was a lot of times at some of his really early videos when he was, stalking real hard on like hidden fates and crazy stuff. And I was like kind of cringing a little bit, but like you can see him building crazy fundamentals because
Yeah.
he started to shift from like this ultra modern, I call it garbage or whatever. Then he started
Damn.
shifting to all these sets that like I really like. He started going after like Team Rocket Returns and started going after all these EX sets and all this. And next thing you know, he's got like PSA 10 Treco. It's like, yeah, man, like I'm so happy I got to like be a fly on the wall for your collected journey.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, that's the stuff that I enjoy is the experience
Yeah.
of watching people just enjoy the hobby. That's why I opened a store. Like, I surely in hell didn't start this business to make money and
Yeah.
become a millionaire because
Well,
this ain't it. But I love just sharing and seeing people that are passionate about something.
even your channel, I think I told you this in the past. I don't know if you remember, but I was literally like one of your first 400 subscribers. Like,
Wow.
how many subscribers do you have now? And like, you were one of the very, very like, I was one of your, I just started watching your videos. I don't know what happened through the
Dude,
YouTube algorithm.
some of those first videos those are gems, man. Those were
Yeah.
like those were good. I
Yeah.
was pretty proud of those when those
Do
popped
you,
off.
do you remember like what your first ones were? And I want to think if I could remember any of them.
Uh God, I talked about why Charizard was like the stonky card. Um,
Well, I knew that because of the guy that came in and bought all your Charizards.
yeah.
But I remember when you made your first video about like the printing, how you like sat down in your chair and you did like how it was like a kind of like an advertisement for the printing company, like off their website. And
Yeah.
but you broke that down, and I'm
Yes.
like, oh man, I'm like, this guy's gonna do some stuff in this hobby.
Yeah. That's my highest viewed video.
Well, I knew that was like the video I knew. I was like, oh, this guy's
And it's
gonna
also like the top search term. So I knew exactly like what to make a video if I wanted to like have one that was take off.
yeah.
Like, thank you, Google Analytics, for telling me exactly what people want to look at.
See, you were really going down the rabbit hole, and
Look, man, you gotta play the game a little bit. And then the video that like did it for me was when I talked about, and like one of the first persons to like break it down, collectors, players, and investors,
yeah,
and how they all interacted and like how they conflict.
yeah,
And that was a video that's just like, again, something clicked somewhere in the great YouTube algorithm gods. It all aligned, and then I gained like, no joke, probably like 8 or 10,000 subscribers from that video.
holy cow,
That one.
that's crazy. And you hear Z&G Emporium, he talks about his highest viewed video is like top 5 modern Pokemon sets to invest in, and he said he literally did it as like a last second thing. He
Yeah.
said he didn't have anything written down. He just made the video, and it ended up having like 200,000 views or some like crazy amount. And he's like, it's one of my worst videos. He's like, if I knew it was going to do so good, I would have put some time into it.
Right.
But you don't know what the algorithm's going to do. And there's and then yeah, there's the big guys too, like Leonhard I watch, and Pokerev. I always watch his Tuesday night box breaks. He did Fire Red Leaf Green today. He pulled the Gengar EX, he pulled the Motrins EX, and the Mr. Mime. What else did he pull? Something else. But I like to watch those older boxes be broken. Like modern stuff, it's like whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And I always like Jake's channel, like Pokenomics, and I don't know. So did you watch my video right before the CGC rant video? Like me submitting those cards?
Yes. Yeah.
That video was recorded a long time ago. And like, it's crazy. Like, my channel, how it's segued into just a meme channel, literally a meme channel, like to just me now. I don't know what I'm doing.
Just brooding and being angry,
I love
being
my
a boomer.
first, yeah, my first live, if you go and read the comment section, it's just freaking gold, because all it is people being like, I can't believe you're not a 12-year-old. And like, it's just like a bunch of people writing that comment, like, I thought you were 12. I thought you were 12. So
Yeah, it's funny. I do remember that.
I think for me, it was just I don't know, like a comfort thing. Maybe I didn't want to like put my face out there at first. And I felt like if you don't put your face out there, like no one's ever going to really take you seriously. You know, you always, I don't
I just figured you were gonna be like a VTuber and just have like an avatar.
know.
In hindsight, that's probably what you should have done. That'd have been way better.
Yeah. Or
No,
just the
I'm kidding.
pump and dumper, just pumped up, sell product to everybody.
Mhm. Was that a me? Was that a dig at me? What?
No, I meant like being a backbreaker. Like
I was like, oh,
not
okay.
like not selling products through like an LGS. I mean, just like dumping product to people. Like you should buy this for.
Like, God damn.
Why don't you do that? Because you have that.
What do you mean? Why don't I do that? You know why I don't do that?
You don't want the backlash, or
I don't
you
want.
don't want.
I don't want that content. I don't want to make that content. I'm gonna do whatnot tomorrow actually for the first time.
Oh,
So
you got accepted.
yeah. It was really weird because the dude kept calling me a famous YouTuber, and I was like, dude, I'm not even. I don't know what you're talking about, but okay, whatever. So yeah, I got that. I'm gonna see what it's all about. See what's up.
Whatnot would never let me break on them. I've already like burned the bridges with
I'm
Whatnot.
gonna say it. Haven't you? No sponsorship from CGC. You can't.
Or,
Yeah,
I burned the bridge with Whatnot. I burned the bridge with CGC, and then I turned around. I pissed on the ashes of both of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Poke
It's funny.
Collectibles said, you made a great call getting behind the camera. You're getting more and more confident and put out great conversations. I think, I don't know.
Do you miss doing it? Do you miss
grow.
doing it by yourself more, or do you like it having other people with you?
I like both. Like this is great for me. Just, you know, like I'm a big
Socially?
believer
Yeah.
in surrounding yourself with like-minded people, you know? And
Okay.
I think
So why do
that,
you have me on here?
well, I want somebody that's going to challenge me too. And I feel like you challenge me sometimes. You'll ask me, you know, questions and stuff. And I
I
think
I
that,
I ask questions just because I genuinely don't know, and like I said, I'm a sponge, and I just want to know.
yeah. Uh, Kevin Clare said, tomorrow's another day.
We're almost into tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm basing said, number one reason I love Knowledge is his general takes regarding of whose feeling gets hurt. And I think that's what I tried to do too is now I want to ask you, do you feel yourself not doing what I do? Is I'm just saying whatever I think at the time. Do you feel, because you do have a much larger reach and a larger channel, do you feel you have to be more methodical with what you say on your channel and how you present that information? Because of
Yeah, I feel because I'm representing my business that I should be more careful. Yeah, I could definitely say some hot takes, but I kind of don't for the sake of having my name of my business on my channel.
yeah.
If I was just some random channel and some random dude that just happened to own a store and you didn't necessarily know the name of it, man, the content I would make.
So tell me what would be the content so I could steal that content, grow my channel.
I would probably, I don't know, probably do stupid stuff like riff on customers and stuff like that,
Oh, okay.
like game store horror stories, which I could just probably still do on my channel and it'd be funny, but
Well, give me a story. Give me one of your good. No one will know. It'll be our little secret.
Our
There's
little
nobody
secret,
watching.
just us and 50 people chilling.
Yeah, and the 900 plus that will watch this when it gets processed.
Oh, no one's gonna watch this 2 hours
Yeah.
in. No, nobody makes it this far. Um, I don't know. I just have, it's just you meet a lot of interesting people just dealing, just buying secondhand things anyways, regardless what it is. But yeah, especially with you add like the nerdy, socially awkward element of what I buy and sell, and yeah, you get some characters.
You ever get like the defensive character when they come in and they're like, "Hey, buy this binder collection," and you're like, "No, because it's worthless," and they're like, "No, it's not. It's worth this much money," and you're like, "No, it's not." Do you get like the defensive, or do you just get?
Yes, like
Yeah,
1 out of 4 is like, all right, man, I got this binder. I know what it's worth.
here's my
Just
Machamp. Look, it's a first edition. This Machamp,
uh-huh.
it's first edition.
I had a lady come in during the shutdown. Like, so we had like the doors locked and everything. And by appointment, we'd have people come in and sell stuff to us.
Yeah.
So she had a notebook with her, and she had a binder, like just like a regular like 3-ring binder, and it had like the binder pages. There's like the plastic pages in them,
Yeah.
cards in this pages, no sleeves on them, no nothing.
Yeah.
And then she had a notebook with her, and she goes, I did some research before I came in, so if you aren't fair with me, I'm gonna know. And we're like, okay, well, we'll see what you got. We'll see what you have. Her best card was a hollow like Hitmonlee or something. Hitmonchan, one of them.
So yeah,
Um,
Hitmonlee from Fossil or
yeah,
Hitmonchan from Base.
yeah. So it's just like, a card that's like her version was like maybe $10, some $8, I think is what we sold her. And she's like,
Hitmonchan was in the blackout theme deck. There's a freaking million of those.
no, yeah. So it's just like, yeah, this is your best card, and everything else is kind of, not worth a whole lot. I think we'd said we'd give her like $20 for the binder or something. And we're like, yeah, this card, it's worth 8. We'll give you 4 on it just because, that's just in order to make money. And she's like, nope, I knew it. See, I looked this up. Look how much this card is. It said $37,000. Exactly. 37,000 exactly. And she's like, now you tell me how you got that number and how I got this number. And I was just like, I don't know if I have enough time, but okay. So there's this website
Where
called
do you
eBay.
find that number from, though?
Yeah, it is very exact. And do you know the website Card Maven?
No.
Oh, look up Card Maven. It's a wonderful website.
Oh.
And apparently, like when you search Pokemon prices, like during the height of it, Card Maven was like what would pop up. Yeah. Of course, they got prices that are absolutely insane. It's just like, this is their splash page. It just says, how much are your cards worth? And you enter a card name, and it's a search. That's all there is on this front page. That's it. Yeah. So let's put in like Hitmonchan. And then search it. And it'll just like spit out just like random prices from across the internet. And yeah, it's just silly. And it's, it mixes in like graded stuff and not graded stuff. And, it's your Rocket Hitmonchan and your, all the other versions of them. Yeah. It's just like, yeah, it's one of those like aggregate websites that aren't very good. So,
well, yeah, it's like somebody coming in with like an unlimited Charizard and being like, I saw the last sale of this was $240,000 on
or the classic is always like, well, on eBay they got it for 20 grand. Like what?
Yeah. Well, I've had a couple friends ask me, because like a lot of people now that 2020 was so like financially beneficial, and 2020 was like, people started to realize like, okay, I had some money worth of Pokemon cards. So then that's when people started to like be interested. No one ever cared before. It was just like a hobby. But then people would be like, well, I have an old binder at home, and they'd send me like a photo, or they'd send me some stuff, and they'd be like, how much is it worth? And I'm like, I can't even start to value your cards, because they're in a binder sheet, you know? Number two, I do not have the time to value your collection for you. It's just like, I don't know. But
I mean,
people
you
will
can
send me a
imagine.
photo. How do you explain grading to somebody
You don't.
and not waste half your day?
You don't.
Like, I literally just made a video
Yeah.
bitching about how I can't explain grading and why it doesn't make sense. Now I'm supposed to explain it to somebody else and then like shoot down all their dreams.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to explain to them, card prices vary based on how good of shape things are. It's like, see all these bends in your cards and all this silvering on the edge here, that's not good. That's means that it's less likely to sell
Yeah.
to somebody that wants to pay good money for it.
Or I have to explain to them, I'm like,
They don't understand,
or I tell them, I'm like, listen, I'll buy your collection, but I'm gonna give you 20 cents on on the dollar for it. And they're gonna be like, why? And I'll be like, I'm gonna have to go through this. I'm gonna grade these cards. It's gonna take a lot of your cards are gonna grade at bulk, which is a tier that doesn't actually exist anymore for PSA. So I'm gonna sit on these cards for an unknown amount of time. Then I'm gonna send them away. Hopefully get them back in a 2-year timeline, you know? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
they don't want to hear that.
Yeah, and there's nothing worse than sitting there and going through a binder for half an hour. And then just at the end of it, it'd be like, they just laugh and be like, all right, dude. No, I'm good. And then walk out and just be like, all right, cool. I wasted half an hour.
So you talked about it before. Do you feel like people are just trying to have you price out all their cards for them too?
Yes, there are people that definitely do that.
Yeah, that would drive me nuts.
Yeah, that don't want to do the work themselves. Yeah.
What's like the best collection you've ever seen walk in the door, even if you bought it or not? Was there ever one where you just like, dude, you just came in the door with 100 G's?
There was probably one that was pretty close. A dude he actually owned a comic book store and he had passed away. And his family, they'd been in the store before, but they weren't like regulars because like the dude owned a shop, so it's like whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, they brought out all of his stuff and he's like, yeah, I'm talking like moving boxes full of stuff, or just like everything. It was just like his whole stuff.
This is all probably unopened stuff and singles as well, or
no, it's mostly singles. A lot of like 1,000 count boxes, or like 2-row like shoebox, what they call shoebox, boxes that had like the center divider in them.
Yep, I know exactly.
Had stuff like that, and it'd be like just like complete sets of just like all the commons and uncommons from like Neo.
Oh, so
or
it's
like
Pokemon too.
Oh yeah. And then you'd have like all the hollows and binders, and it'd just be like full pages of just like, all the Neo hollows.
Yeah.
You flip through. I had a dude come in one time, just like he wouldn't even sell me one. He just came in like to flex one day. Apparently he liked Crystal Charizards.
No way, from Skyridge?
An old dude just walked in like a beat up like duffel bag that you'd like take to the gym and like brought out this binder. A dude had page after page after page. I'm talking probably of the 9 pocket pages, he probably had 5 or 6 of them of regular hollow Crystal Charizards.
6 pages.
And then he would go through and like, oh, here's all the reverse ones, and be like, show me all the reverse ones, like 2 pages worth of that. I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
In my entire life heard of that.
And this dude he was not rich, he was not affluent. He was just a normal like college level kid, and he just had all these cards. I'm like, dude, what?
How did he get them? Did you ask him?
That's what I was like, how did you even get all these? I don't understand.
Even I'll tell you right now, even at the low point of Pokemon, at the low when things were cheap.
Yeah.
Everybody out there, I'm going to tell you right now with all certainty, that Charizard was still expensive in
Ex-
relative to the
Yes,
rest of the market. Maybe you would
absolutely.
look at the price and say it was cheap today, but in relative to the Pokemon market, that card was never cheap.
I'm telling you, and I'm not exaggerating. Dude had like 70 of them. I don't understand. I don't understand. I'm like, dude,
You,
I'm like,
you
what are you wanting to do here? Like, I'm like, I'm like, why did you bring me these?
feel-
It's like, I just thought you'd appreciate them. I was like, wait, you don't want to sell me one? Can you just sell me one? Like, what do you
That is the
mean? He's
most
like, well,
amazing.
no, this is what I collect. I only collect these. This is all I want. Like, all
Wow.
right, man. Well, thanks for showing me. I appreciate it. And he put it in his bag and he walked back out. That's it. That's all it was.
This
I don't
wow.
understand. I was like, I would look at I was just me and my business partner because this is before we even had employees. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? What
Yeah.
was that?
Me, whenever crazy shit like that happens, me and my well, not like that, but me and my coworker always look at each other. We always have the same joke. We always look and we go, "This is proof we're in a simulation." And we do
Yeah,
that every time. Like
and that's the other
whenever
thing. I was like, it's
because
just like,
it's
how is this possible?
the logistics of that card,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Like this dude had to buy every single one he ever saw for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Like those don't even hit the market. Like thinking of like this was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
Like those weren't like even readily available.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
I was just like, thinking of like now, the dude just like how much money was he just like if he sold at like the peak and been insane. Like, all right, time to go. Time to
Yeah.
let me buy a house real quick.
I would never be able to price those out without looking at condition, but let's just I don't know.
He had a bunch of Charizards. He did have a couple more. What else was in Skyridge? Was there another crystal in Skyridge?
There another what crystal?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple. You had the
Golem?
crystal golem, crystal
Golem.
Crobat, Celebi, the Charizard, and the crystal.
All of those were in Skyridge?
Yep. Yeah. So
So I remember him
golem,
I remember seeing him have he had a bunch of golems. Not as many. He must
probably
not have liked them very much, but
probably Crobat, Celebi, right?
I don't remember. I was just like, I saw the first 5 pages of Charizards. I'm like, what the hell, dude? Like, what is this?
Yeah. Oh, and then the crystal Ho-Ho is in Skyridge too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand. I was just like, it was not like a regular dude. He may be a bit in before, but just like, what a flex.
Yeah. No, I always think like what I don't know. I guess this is kind of going off on a tangent, but like with a thought of that, people bringing cards in and you talk about that guy, I'm always like, I don't even know what I would really do if like I died. Like, where
Hmm.
would my collection go and how would it get sold?
Yeah. Like, would your wife have any idea of even like where to start?
No, she wouldn't even touch it. That's the thing. Like, I know for a fact, like, I would just die and she would just never touch it until like she moved. And then
And she'd throw it out at a yard sale and she'd sell it for 200
she
bucks to some kid. And
she wouldn't know what to do with it. It would be too like
uh,
confusing. I
yeah,
don't know. But by then, assuming Pokemon does what I do, if you had, 15 to 20 years worth of appreciation on all my cards, she could be sitting on like, a gold mine and not even
sure.
know it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I get a lot of that too, where like the kids moved out of the house. They just have like the old Pokemon binders they had. They went off to college and they just, again,
Well,
they don't know anything. They just bring them in. They're like, yeah, it was my kids and they moved out and I told them to take it with them and they didn't. So here you go.
it's crazy. You're gonna start moving into a timeline of some of these like cards that are gonna really start to explode in the future because the generation of kids going to college now, it's like that diamond and pearl generation, right?
Yeah.
So now, and maybe you get a couple of the gold star, like later gold star sets in there and stuff. Like you could be start to be eventually moving into like an area where there's going to be a lot of like really good stuff coming through your door.
No, I mean, I've definitely seen people walk in and just like, yeah, it's from when I was growing up, just had a bunch of them, and I hand them $1,000, and they're just like, God, would have been happy with 200. Like, what? I was like, well, damn. But that's how it is. It happens a lot. So
I don't even know how you're able to. Well, I mean, obviously, you're a business. You have like the cash reserves, but like, what if you get some crazy collection and they're, I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say you don't keep $100,000 cash at your store. So if somebody were the
I definitely don't.
hypothetical walk in and they have $350,000 worth of cards, right? And they're all worth 350,000. They're like, I would like to sell these cards to you today. I know what they're worth. I'm looking for $100,000. Like, is that something you can do, or is that something you have to just say, sorry, man, I got to turn you away?
God, no. I mean, just to get that kind of capital together would take so like it takes so long.
Yeah,
I got to do a lot of moving around. I got to move a lot of logistics of, yeah, it's like, and your mom and pop local owned card shop would not have that kind of money on hand.
yeah.
They just don't. I mean,
Like
some stores, I mean, they couldn't even scrape together $10,000 if you need that for a collection.
yeah. I have cards come up on eBay all the time that I'm just like, do I want to do this again for the third time this week? And and we're talking just a couple $100, and I don't even know how you could do it like on a consistent basis. But then I think that's where, for like what you do, is the grinding has to be nonstop. You can never afford to just take a day off, which that's why I give you tons of respect for that, because for me, probably most of the people out there watching this, like, we could take a day off here and there and just not sell any cards. Your grind never ends.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you keep growing. That's how you keep your business moving forward, is make more money than you did yesterday. That's the goal. That's like, that's okay. We did this good on this weekend. All right, next weekend, let's do the same or better. That's just like, you have these metrics, whether they're short term or long term, and you just put more zeros at the end of them.
Yeah.
As you go year by year,
Do you ever look at all your bulk in the back and you're just like, logistically speaking, there may never be a day where I sell all this. Like, I might not live long enough.
I was going through just like our backlog of just like WotC era hollows, and just like flipping through like all my first edition Machamps, where I have like probably 100 of them. I'm like, what do I do with the 100 first edition Machamps? What am I doing with these? And the ones that are bent in half, I have 80 of them that are in decent shape, and these 20 that are terrible. Like, when, on what planet, how long from now am I going to have to sit on these to get anything out of them?
The number for those 2-player starter decks, the number I've heard thrown out a lot now, can't really like call me out on it, but I've heard 2 million of those 2-player starter decks were potentially made.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, that means 2 million of those first edition Machamps exist.
Every WotC era collection has the first edition Machamp.
Yep.
It has an Ancient Mew.
Yep.
And it has the reverse promo Entei.
Oh,
wherever that came from. Those 3 cards are always in the collection. All 3 of those.
I think like the Pokemon first movie promo. So you either
WB Kids promo. Yeah. Those 2.
So either the Pikachu, the Mewtwo, or the Dragonair.
Yeah. They're all in there too.
Dragonair. Do you ever get some cards? I mean, you must all the time. Do you ever get like any super rare stuff come in and you're just like, I've been doing Pokemon for all these years. I've never even freaking seen this card.
I had a dude literally like just drove his tractor up to my store. Is what he looked like, and like the overalls with one unhitched. Walk in, and he had a freaking he had a bunch of just bull crap, and then he had like 20 ancient Mews all sealed in this little like metal tin.
Yeah.
That was like covered in like soda or who knows, some sort of oil. I don't know what the fuck. All the cards were okay, but it was just covered in gross. Then he had what's the Japanese Pikachu? It's like a doodle. That's like drawn like really shittily, but it's like a famous. I forgot. Oh my god.
So you're not talking about that brand new promo, right?
No.
The Japanese.
Am I an idiot? Uyama's Pikachu.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
He had that in there. I've never seen that card like in person. I was like, what? How did this dude even come about this? Like what? So I'm like trying to like get a story out of him, or just like something to give me some closure on this. Like how the hell this dude randomly has this Japanese card?
Yeah.
And he would just be like, yeah, man, I had a Japanese friend, and it's the only card that he had that I've never seen before, and I just thought it was cool, and I traded for it. I was like, all right, man, it's just a weird card to have.
Yeah.
I've never had it before. It was just funny.
I don't really get those cards very often. I mean, when I did binders, obviously I wasn't buying the type of bulk you were buying, but you ever see the Pikachu Black promo #1, like the Ivy Pikachu?
Yeah, Ivy, yeah.
Yeah. So that card has like a glossy one to it, and there's like that Pikachu, and then there's the Jigglypuff, the glossy promo one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that was one of those. I got both those cards once in a binder collection. I was like, why are these fake cards in this binder? And if you look at those cards, they look like shadowless on the bottom with like the numbering. There's the 4 dates, and they're like super glossy. And I'm like, why? I'm like, man, why would this be fake? And then I looked at the Jigglypuff, and I'm like, this Jigglypuff, this fake artwork, like even the promo where it says promo is like even colored differently. And then I was like, you know what? Let me just, and then it's like something about them. I was like, something's off about these. Like, is this some kind of weird error or something? And then I looked up and then like found out the release of them and stuff. But it was just one of those very random things of cards that I never even knew existed after being in the hobby for all this time.
Yeah. The what they call the cigar.
The Hitmonlee.
Hitmonlee. Yeah.
But
I had one.
It's not
I had
even
one of those
a cigar. It's just like a brown stamp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the story is that it's whatever the roll, the ends of the hollow print sheet is whatever the company's name was, is what it is. It just looks like a cigar roll.
Yeah.
But I had one of those in, which I wish I never would have sold, because it's just a cool card, and I loved it.
One of the more famous error cards too.
Yeah. A lot of those like Pikachu, the Pikachu errors that have like what they call the ghost stamp.
Ghost stamp, yeah.
Where it's just is an outline of the first edition.
Yeah, so those I believe all came in the Zap theme decks.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've looked it up, and that's why I was like, well, how did this exist? And yeah, I figured it out. But again, I had those, and I'm like, what? That is, I've never seen that before. So yeah, I get weird stuff that walks in my door, but it's just you never know who's gonna bring it in, and what the story is, and how it came about.
You learn all the backstories of all that stuff too. And like, that's why I always tell people, I'm like, the amount of Pokemon information that I have forgotten is just as much as all the stuff I know. Like, there's so much out there in the world of Pokemon that you may never even know it exists ever.
Yeah.
Definitely. Holy cow, this was a good chat. It's 12:30.
Yeah, remember I told you 11:30?
Yeah. Uh,
That's
I
always how it
th-
goes, though.
yeah, but I appreciate you coming on, and I know this was a last second thing.
Dude, I am always happy to hang out and talk Pokemon.
I feel bad
Jeez.
we ignored the chat a little bit.
No, we talked to him a little bit. We brought him into it.
Did you see any good questions before we sign off or no?
Pokefresh just asked if I'm a collector and what do you predominantly collect?
So I predominantly collect like e-reader cards is mainly what I go after.
Mhm.
I obviously have what everyone has, like a lot of the early Wizard of the Coast stuff. So base set, Jungle, Fossil, Team Rocket, Neo, but I don't really go as hard in those sets. And then recently I've been expanded into Diamond and Pearl more and more. I
Mm.
don't really own anything for Black and White. And I collect a little bit of everything. Got a couple, yeah. I don't want to say too much.
Okay. And no Pokefresh. I don't collect like actively. I have a couple things that I'm sitting on, or I just have just because I think they're cool. But I'm not like collecting, or like I don't have like sets I like, enjoy to collect or anything.
Yeah.
I enjoy them. I enjoy all the cards, modern, old, all of it. But I don't actually physically have anything anymore.
I guess technically you have a pretty big collection if you want to
I
call
I have a hell of a collection. Yeah.
everything in your store. Do you? Yeah. We could keep going, but I think it's getting late. All right, guys. But everybody out there, thank you guys for joining this last second live.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys hanging out for 2.5 hours or whatever it was.
You got anything you want to shout out before we sign off?
If you guys want to check out Whatnot, tomorrow 5 o'clock Eastern, I have all kinds of different stuff. I'm gonna have modern Japanese stuff, WotC Japanese stuff. I'm just had like a smattering of just like all this backlog stuff that we just have so much of. WotC Hollow stuff, some modern stuff thrown in there. I'm just trying to see what sells and what doesn't sell on there, and then kind of go from there to focus. So if you guys want to, potentially get something for cheap, uh, whatnot at 5 o'clock. It's the name, just name of business, Cardinal Gaming, on there.
All right. Mason, you ready? I'm gonna tell you what you got to sell on there, and you're gonna make a lot
Yeah,
of money. You
let me know.
ready?
Yeah, please.
Just you sell two things.
Okay.
Sell some t-shirts
T-shirts.
and sell some sweatshirts, some Cardinal Gaming t-shirts and sweatshirts. And I promise you, if you add those two cards, you're gonna see like crazy returns.
Yeah.
Promise you. Try
Okay.
it. Try a
Okay.
t-shirt, try a sweatshirt, see what happens.
Okay.
Because I know there's probably a lot of people out there who want one of those Cardinal gaming sweatshirts and t-shirts.
They're on my website. Like you can go buy them right now.
Yeah, people could do that, but if they're going to be buying on Whatnot, it'll probably be a lot easier for them to do it there. Just try it, see what happens.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Everyone else, good night. And I'll catch